Welcome to the Kratom Advocacy Podcast. My name is Lawrence, and today we are sitting for a conversation with Wednesday Forestbear. Hello Wednesday. On the Kratom Advocacy Podcast, we've interviewed some prominent people. However, there are so many hidden industry leaders who are just as important. When I began my quest to find these industry leaders, I spent lots of time haunting various Kratom discords. And Wednesdays was by far the most impressive to me and the most professional. And if I were trying to build a social media presence around Kratom, I would definitely want to do it how she did it. And so it's my pleasure today to welcome again Wednesday Forestbear to the show. Wednesday, how did you come into Kratom, and how did you manage to build these online communities from pretty much scratch?
Oh, wow. I actually came into Kratom by accident. I was already working in herbs my whole life because I was raised a witch. So my mom always had the little apothecary, and in the side thing, we always had a garden growing herbs and everything. And they were all for medicinal purposes and stuff like that. So I learned since I was like just a youngin'. It got to the point to where I had a rough childhood, so I started, dabbling into drugs and stuff like that, and I kind of wanted to back off from that a bit, so I got into alcohol. I drank a little too much, quit drinking, and I actually found Kratom pretty much like right before I quit drinking. That's when I started doing my research on it and stuff like that, because every herb actually pretty much anything that I do, I have to research to death before I'm like, okay, all right, yeah. So I found Kratom, and against people's advice, I decided to try it for myself. And it actually not only helped me get off of alcohol, but helped with my neurological disorder. It helped with my back pain. It helped with a bunch of different things that I had going on in my life. So I was like, whoa, is this like a miracle? So that's when I started getting into the communities. I got on to Reddit, and of course I got onto the Reddit as I had just started doing Kratom. So it was like I had to learn how to use Reddit at the same time as learn about Kratom. So it was a confusing time, but people welcomed me in right away. They answered all of my questions, and I was like, whoa, this is like an amazing community. Like, not only is it just this plant that's there that can help people, but it's people that want to help people that have been through the same things. And I wanted to do that, I put a lot of things aside, and I was like, this is what I want to do, because I think this is actually bringing my life back, and I want to help bring others back too. I wanted another option for them. I wanted to be able to explain the science of it too, that I have researched myself, in my opinion, on it, and just do as much as I could. So I found a Reddit, and I joined that. They welcomed me in, and the leader of the Reddit actually had to take a break just to take care of himself for a while. So I took over, and he ended up not being able to come back. So I ended up taking over, and it just kind of built from there. I just kind of made a voice. People started knowing who I was. They started joining. My Reddit was building and building and building. But then Reddit started at the same time around then not liking Kratom for some reason. They started attacking Kratom and cannabinoid subs, even though they let pure plain street drugs be on there and talked about all the time. They didn't like Kratom for some reason, so they were slowly taking down the subs. Well, one big sub got taken down, and everybody kind of moved over to my sub really fast. So I grew super fast. In like 2 weeks, I got to like 2,000 people. And there were some fake people that came on that fought back and forth, and reporting on Reddit is the devil. So if you get too many
If I may interrupt you, I'm sorry, what year was this? And Can you talk about how, as it seems to me at least, as the years went on, this fighting increased? Would you say that's true?
Yes, the fighting definitely increased, not only behind the scenes, but with Reddit. We've tried to talk to Reddit. I actually had some Reddit mods that were real people, not the automated mods that were just bots. I had, after a few years, so it was about 2.5 years later when things actually got dangerous in the Reddit world to even talk about certain words. Like you couldn't say the word purchase, you can't say the word vendor, you couldn't talk about vendors, stuff like that. They had all of these rules that we had to completely change, total censorship. And that's not what we wanted. So that's when we all started moving on to Discord. Well, I already had a Discord that was just my mods. Everything was pretty much set up so we could all talk to each other and everything. And Reddit actually came on the day that I hit 3,000 people and banned my whole Reddit.
What?
They completely shut it off without telling anybody why, nothing. They said just on the little thing that it was for illegal activities. Luckily, we already had a backup Reddit with a name that was just a little bit different, but it only had about 300 people that knew about it in the beginning. It was called Botanical Euphoria. It was a really great thing, but then there was, again, differences of opinion, and we all ended up leaving that. And when that went down is when I made my private Discord public and invited everybody in. And since then, it's just been building. That was only probably about 8 months ago.
How does making it public pose new security threats? How do you deal with those threats? How do you deal with the drama that seems to be intrinsic to the Kratom community these days?
Yeah, you have people that have been with you along the way. My sidekick, my co-owner of my Discord, her name is OpenBowl. She's amazing. She's been with me since the very beginning of taking over 101, which is the name of my community. Her and I got to talking, and we kind of had a team put together. So our team made policies, and with Discord, instead of being afraid of bots like you are on Reddit, you control the bots. You make them perform how you want. People be on timeout if they say something, or if you have somebody who's been kicked out before that comes back in, they automatically get kicked back out, all in the background. You don't have to deal with that. It's all just tech. It's really, really nice. So it's kind of a sit back, relax, and let the community take care of itself kind of thing.
And what kind of grift and scams have you seen come and go? Because I haven't been in this industry long, if you could say I'm in it. And I've seen a lot, I've heard about a lot of fraudsters and people getting scammed. And can you talk about some of those? Yeah. And you can allude to people obliquely, kind of, if you need to. Yeah. That's okay.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there's been behind the scenes, there's been in the scenes, and then there's been vendors themselves that have tried to come on. Like at one time, I'm just going to say his name because he was already in legal trouble and stuff like that. He came on as Mitra extract. He was using solvents that were not safe to make extracts and selling them on Reddit and stuff like that. So we actually all got together behind the scenes and caught him, got the proof of it, sent it into the authorities, and got him taken care of, because people actually went to the hospital because of his extracts. After that, that's when we started thinking about how we needed to make policies towards new vendors coming in, that we needed to vet them harder before we let them in. And that's where we have a thing where we talk to people, we ask them questions beforehand. So pretty much we vet them before letting them into our communities, because there's vendors out there that are just in it for the money, especially in other communities right now that I'm sure we'll talk about later, that are in it for the money, that are actually trying to reach out to drug addicts, and instead of in a recovery way, they're pushing towards, hey, this is exactly like the drug that you like, you know? So that was one problem that we had to deal with, which I think we kind of have a little handle on it, but it's getting bigger in a different community that I'm in. So we're trying to get a handle on it there. Also, inside the community itself, there's been some discrimination, discrimination on ethnicity, which is surprising in a community that's built on compassion.
That is surprising.
You would have so much hate and stuff like that. There's been stuff that's been transphobia. There's been problem with gays. There's been mostly a lot of problems with religion, which, I mean, isn't surprising in this day and age. And what's
it's really weird. Like, sorry to interrupt again, but I've been thinking about this as well. And you've kind of got these two different demographics as well that are kind of prominent. Older people from maybe more rural areas, and then kind of youngerish people from more urban areas. And we know what kinds of beliefs we tend to associate with being from more the countryside versus from the city. So we have kind of a clash also of would you say that's right now transpiring?
Yes, it definitely is. And it's actually funny because I'm originally from Salt Lake City, Utah. I'm a city girl, like hardcore. Okay. I grew up there, you know, lived there for 35 years until I moved here to rural Louisiana. I'm 40 minutes outside of New Orleans. So I can see both sides of it, and I can feel, I don't want to put any statistics out there, but rural tends to be a little bit more Christian values and
yes,
stuff
that's
like
what
that.
I was alluding to, yeah.
City is, a little bit more progressive, open, and stuff like that. I can see people coming together a lot just for the plant, but there's people in the background that I've actually been attacked by myself. So it's all kind of fitting together more than it did in the middle. In the beginning, everyone was together. It was peace, it was love, it was this plant. Then there was the fight. Fights started a lot on Reddit. As soon as we stopped moving off, or we started moving off of Reddit, stopped being all on there where everything was completely anonymous and people could just, troll to all hell. On Discord, where you get to know each other more, it's kind of been a little bit easier to be more compassionate to each other. We always have now a no discrimination policy completely. If anybody says anything, even if it's a joke, or something like that, we'll talk to them. If it's not a joke, they're just banned. We're not dealing with that. Not okay.
And have you been dealing with a lot of pressure? I'm sorry to interrupt you. Have you been dealing with a lot of pressure from the 7OH community? And also, sorry, Zach Arnett, my partner, is here. He's just having some internet problems. Zach, are you there?
Yeah. Yeah. Can you hear me through my mic?
Yes. Okay. Great. So you're here. We're good now. Okay. So what challenges have you faced from the 7OH community? I've dropped by there a few times, and they were fine with me, but when I mention the purists, the Kratom purists, they get very militant. And they think that anybody should be allowed to get 7OH basically however they want, whenever they want. For lack of a better definition, I think some of them believe in some regulations and whatnot. But what do you think about all that?
Well, this is a pretty great question because I actually, I started in Pure Leaf, but I believe in all. I actually mod in the 7OH community. I'm one of their security people, pretty much. So I do both sides. So I see a lot of this. In the 7OH community, they completely respect, from what I've seen, if they're not getting hurt, the raw leaf community. In the raw leaf community, they seem to attack the 7OH community. And I think that's all just it's all just kind of misinformation, not enough studies, not enough education. And then there's those vendors that people are seeing that are in the 7OH community. And those are the ones that right now that are reaching out to the addiction community. And instead of being like, this will help you recover, this will help you do this. I'm not making any medical claims. This is all just things I've seen, experience, and stuff like that. They just, they'll have names that allude to being the same drug that the person is on. So that's a big problem right now that people, not only the raw leaf community are having, they're attacking them without looking at just the plain 7-0H people that are just saying, hey, you know, this process actually started by the fermentation of raw leaf, and that's how we found it in the first place before it was actually synthesized. So I think it just needs to be studied more, because there are places that say that it's not kratom at all. Well, it is. It's found. It's just a process of kratom.
I know one common counter argument to that is it's found in such small amounts. We shouldn't really consider it kratom. What is your response to that? And after that, Zach, maybe you want to also put in your 2 cents.
I think it's found in such small amounts because of the way it's processed. But think about our farmers. Think about how hard they work. Think about where they are working in Indonesia, in places like that, where like they don't have a lot of tools at hand to really study it themselves and stuff like that. I think if we really were dealing with it's such a small number, it's not kratom, then there would need to be claims behind that, or not claims behind that, scientific evidence behind that. You know, we need to do more studies. Yeah, I'm not saying go take 30 milligrams of 7-OH. I'm not even saying like take those big things or anything like that, or even try that. Definitely wouldn't start with 7-OH. You don't want them to be confused saying, oh, hey, this says kratom on it, and then end up with just a 7-OH like kind of thing. You know, you don't want that to happen. But I don't think there's a problem with 7-OH being readily available. And this is all based on education and getting people to learn how to use it responsibly. People are going to use it if they want to use it, whether it's regulated, whether it's anything. They're going to find it if they want to. And we should make it safe for them. Like, either way, we should make it safe. So I believe, because it is found, even in small amounts, it is still kratom. It just needs to be studied. We need to be cautious with it. We need to make sure people are cautious when they come into the communities and not just be like, oh, hey, just use this. Because this thing I've seen a lot by modding the 7-0 community is people only use 7-0 and they haven't used raw leaf. And I don't think that's a very safe route to go. Just in my own opinion, I don't think people should just start with that, because it does have different effects. It does work a little bit differently in the brain. But I think we just need more education, more responsible use. And to do that, we just need more studies. That's it. Just more scientific information. So we need to be backed by people like, you know, people that are fighting against us right now. We need to be kind of backed by them, or else it's just going to end up black market anyway.
Okay. Zach, do you have any questions you'd like to ask? Zach does a lot of research about 7-OH and nitrogeny, and he used to manage a supplement store, so it's kind of been in his life for at least several years. Zach, do you have any questions you'd like to ask?
Yeah. Okay. So have you had anyone actually provide a logical argument for wanting to be so precautious with 7-hydroxy when as far as I know, I don't know of any 7-hydroxy deaths at first event reports. It just seems like overly precautious to me.
Yeah, actually, just in my experiences, my opinions, and you got to remember that I, as well as probably you, have talked to thousands and thousands of people that have been on both sides of this. So I would say that the caution, even though we're not finding adversary things in science and stuff like that, there's not been any deaths, there's not been anything like that. Just from what I've experienced, there's been a little bit stronger not really, I don't want to really say withdrawal kind of, but like a yucky feeling when you switch from just 7.0 to MIT, or if you do vice versa or something like that. Now, it seems to be the very best when you mix them together from experiences of people I've heard, not making any claims. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist. I wish I was, but I'm not here. But just that's the only reason I am so cautious, is because I've seen so many different sides of people, not feeling well, not being like hospital sick, nothing like that. Nothing like that is happening. We haven't had deaths from Kratom at all. We haven't had deaths from 7.0 at all. It's always been it's like other things with it, like recent stuff coming up, like, hey, he had this in his system, he had this in his system, oh, he had this underlying condition, she had this underlying condition, and that's not what was studied. And that kind of gets me into some other things that we might talk about. I don't know, but I'll try and shut up now.
No, you don't have to shut up. You're here to not shut up. I'm here to shut up.
Yeah, no,
but
you were here to speak.
But I wanted to ask you, have you heard of anyone, and don't do this because this is dumb, have you heard of anyone injecting 7-OH or trying to?
I've actually, on my community that I mod for, this is a 7-OH community, there's been people that come on there and they said, hey, can I inject this? Or even people that say, hey, can I boof this?
Can I boof this? I knew that was coming.
It's just plain stupid. I have not heard of anyone actually doing it. I just have these people that come in, and I think they more so think that they're funny. If I ever think that someone is actually serious, and I get that tone or that intuition or that feeling that they are serious, that I'll have a private conversation with them and say, hey, there's no way in hell you should be trying this. You should not be injecting any unknown thing. It should not be something that you should toy with. They are careful, and the people that are trolls that are coming in and joking around about it, I boot them out. I just ban them because, we can't stand for the people that are like making it sound like this is a drug, because it is not a drug. Neither of them are drugs. It is all.
If I can interrupt because I don't want to forget, and I'm sorry for taking you off of what you were saying, but I know right now the AKA, the GKC advocate for various levels of restriction. The GKC in particular is firm on its stance that we need strong regulation for 7-OH. What do you think about these organizations and their perspectives? You can go to AKA and then GKC, and do you see their advocacy in the forums and the discords? Do they have operatives? Does that sort of thing happen?
Well, as far as operatives go, I've actually never seen anybody from the AKA on Reddit or on any of the discords to come in and talk. But I have been friends with Daniel Torres for a while. And invited him to my group. He hasn't, I haven't gotten back to him to give him the invite to my Discord yet, because I was kind of, I had a million things going on at once. But, he's going to be the only person that's kind of wanted to be actually involved in the people instead of on the outside. That's one thing that is weird about these people that are making all these rules, is they're just on the outside and they don't want to come in and get involved with the people when they're supposed to be speaking for the people. It's all just like politics. As far as the AKA is concerned, I'm happy to hear Mac say that, like, he's kind of changing his ideas about 7-OH before, because I know that they wanted to put a 2% on the KCPA and all of that. When I was there for all of that, because we tried to get ours here in Louisiana, and it was, we finally got it to the very, very end, and then they tabled it and said, hey, we'll come back for this, and then closed sessions. Never went back to it.
Yeah.
But, it's not banned right now. So we're working hard in Louisiana still. But as far as, as I've heard the things that he said lately, he's kind of changing his, and the AKA, he's speaking on behalf of the AKA about changing their ideals about regulation not being so high on 7.0 and stuff like that. And what my idea of regulation is never to minors, proper education, complete labeling, including the amount of MIT, the amount of 7.0 on the thing, and a QR code that takes you directly to the labs. Because if it's not lab tested, I don't want it. I don't want it in my community. I don't want it around. That's not ever. That's back in the day when Mitra Extracts was around and stuff like that. That's what got us in trouble. Is we didn't ask for lab reports. It wasn't like that. He just showed up one day, started selling it, and put people in the hospital.
Is there a standardized testing procedure? And are there people who audit people's kratom? Or does the vendor choose what kratom he submits to test?
Of each one of their things that come in, and they make kind of a median that will make sure that kind of like a random test out of every batch of each color and everything that they send in to make sure, as far as like the mold yeast and heavy metals and stuff like that they test out, that they put in. It's kind of a random test. But at the same time, those labs, we're trusting them. You can call the lab and verify that that's what went on. But as far as what they're putting in, that's not something I really have an opinion about, because I don't know, other than the vendors that I work with that I trust.
Okay. So you use Discord extensively in community engagement. What's that like day to day? And how can you, if someone else wants to do this, how can they make money using Discord, working with kratom vendors? What does that process look like?
Well, as far as somebody making money, I mean, your best thing is, sorry, my nose ring just came undone.
It's okay. Fix them all. You gotta look right. Zach, you're next. Fix your nose ring too.
As far as my yeah, I used to be the nose ring gang. Now it's your turn, church boy.
I am a church boy, but
yeah,
go on.
Yeah. I still have to get back to you on that. Anyway, number one, if you want to come into a kratom Discord or something like that and make money, be a vendor. You need to go through the proper channels and the proper licensing and all of that to be a vendor. We do have small things like raffles. We usually only use those when someone in our community is hurt or needs bills towards something or something like that. We have vendors that sponsor things. We'll hold raffles, and then all the money goes to the person that needs the money. But as far as monetizing just Discord itself, there are a lot of Discords that pay their mods. Discord is definitely a very wide variety kind of place. There's artists, there's musicians, there's stuff like that. So if somebody wanted to have full security all the time because they were like a professional that was famous, a celebrity or something like that, they would have mods on there that were paid to make sure everything was cool, to make sure everything went down exactly how it was supposed to. And another thing when I'm talking about that is you can actually you can turn in an application to become a monetized Discord. And with that comes some subscriptions for more content. So to do that, you fill out all the paperwork. They say, oh yeah, you could do this. You get to keep 90% of it. 10% of it goes to Discord until you make your first million, and then we back off and you can keep all the rest. And, thanks for using Discord, blah, 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 blah. To do that, you have to be an actual community Discord, so you already have to apply. Most of the communities that we use here, except for mine, are not applied with Discord. My community, I made sure that it was already verified by Discord to be a community, to show up to other communities in like a search or something like that. And so they can make sure that everything is, I don't have any raids or anybody coming in like that. So now I'll get back to talking about subscriptions. So say I wanted to have some of my vendors that have their drops that are coming out, which is their newest batches coming in from Indonesia, if I wanted to give them a day ahead, the people that are in the tiered subscription, they would pay for that content, and it would go to us and Discord and the vendor, and they would have a day ahead to choose what stuff they wanted out of the new stuff coming from Indonesia. And that could be tiered like 1 day, 2 days, or like gold, bronze, silver, stuff like that. And you could pay for that, and that's all 100% legal through Discord. So, there's a lot of ways to make money. We kind of just stick to we're not really there to make money. We're there to help the vendors make money, and they could keep the consumers safe and, just be compassionate with each other. So we just stick to raffles for right now. Maybe in the future, we'd think about having like tiered subscriptions for people for content that maybe they want to know the new news about something that's coming out or something like that, that we might actually, apply for it. But for now, things are going pretty great, and I'd rather just kind of stick to keeping people safe.
Wednesday, right now, something that's concerning me and the community at large, and I know you've worked politically a bit in your state, are all these bans that are popping up, Rhode Island, North Carolina, New Jersey, Illinois. Where is this pressure coming from, and why?
All right. I'm going to talk about two different things that I already know for sure that I've seen myself, and that is the KDA, the Kratom Danger Awareness. They're a group that is run by people that have said that somebody in their family has passed away from Kratom, and people that they let a bunch of people in. They use all of these wrong claims that Kratom has hallucinations, seizures. One thing that's been proven the very most is there is no slowing of respiration with Kratom. Well, they say there is. So they use these things along with the lawyers that are funding it to try and poach families. This is what I've seen in my opinion. They can keep this all on me, y'all. If you want to be mad, point it at me. But they have actually came after me to try and tell me some crap that made absolutely no sense. Mm-hmm. And so that was one place, and that they are pushing hard. They show up at a lot of the things. They will send a family. They will send somebody that corresponds with them to each one of the bands or the council meetings or something like that, and have somebody that has a story that pertains to somebody passing away from Kratom, or somebody in their family has been addicted to Kratom. When we're shown that there's such small amounts that it doesn't even classify as being addictive, when you do the 10 different addictives on the scale, it doesn't even show up. There's only 2 of them out of the 10. They are one of our biggest threats because they're always around and you don't know when they're coming. They've gotten onto Reddit before pretending to be other people to try and take down vendors. They bought from some of our vendors and sent it in and tried to put stuff in it, to adulterate it, to try and prove that this stuff is bad, or done stuff like that, saying that it's terrible. So that group is one of them. The other group, well, really, I want to say it's not really a group, but, the FDA has been flippity-floppity for a very long time. That's what, when in like 2016, when the DEA was first thinking about scheduling as a Schedule 1 drug. Now, recently, the FDA put out something saying that, oh, hey, we were wrong. We haven't studied this enough, and some of our people actually lied about it. Well, some of that has been rescinded, and so now they're at a point where they want to push 4 different things, like the new one, CJ's Law, that came out, where it's actually shown that his toxicology report has other things in it.
So CJ was consuming other drugs according to the toxicology report at the time of his death. Okay.
Yeah, he had. Well, I mean, they even I even talking about doctor prescribed and
They were present. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Still.
And CJ's it's been even said right in the bill that he had Adderall in his system, and that's one thing that we talk about in our education and self-responsibility and use is, don't mix things, and I'm not blaming him. I'm not blaming the mother or anything like that. Nothing like that. I feel awful that somebody died from anything, but the way that they're pushing this law is not right, and that's what keeps happening. And part of it is the KDA, part of it is the FDA, and part of it is actually some people that are in the Kratom group and groups that I don't know if they're there just because they don't know what they're doing, or if they're there just because they want to find out a bunch of stuff to use against us. We don't really know where they're coming from, but my guess is more KDA. But so KDA, yeah,
who's funding them? That's what I want to know.
At the very first, from what I've been told, it's a couple of law firms, actually, because they've been putting up lawsuits. Like there was a lawsuit to a vendor that a woman passed away, and the thing that was said was next to her morning stuff, she had a baggie of extract, and she passed away, and that's all that was told to the media and the story that came out. Nobody knows that extract was only like 24 to 29%. So that wouldn't have killed her anyway. Knowing what we know scientifically, we know that there's got to be something else that went on with that. But their lawsuit won because that was back before we had enough science to really say, and because we had so much pressure from the lawyers and the KDA and stuff like that. The KDA is now much stronger and much bigger. So it's kind of just an ongoing thing with them, and lawyers trying to tell families that, hey, Kratom, maybe, have you thought about that? Maybe that's what killed them. And, they want to get their money and greed, power.
Preying on desperate people, potentially, who are sad and looking for some reason why. Yes, yep. I see what you're saying. Zach, you're up.
Yeah, as far as that goes. So within this realm of things, is your favorite specialty, the actual botany side of things, or do you like the field of regulations? And that's kind of something I think is unique here, that you could actually find an interest in regulations here.
That's hard to answer because I don't know. My brain is going a million miles all the time. So, I'm extremely interested in the phytopharmacology of everything. But at the same time, I like the other side of things. I like the, how we get things out there. This is hard for me to explain again.
Like business and like economics.
Yeah. I like the business part of it. That's another thing that I say at my signature when I email a new vendor, when I'm trying to get them vetted to be a preferred something. One of my credentials is vendor relations. That's one thing that I really like to do along with marketing, because I want to help these vendors that have quality things that are already regulated themselves, that have done that for the safety, because they are all there for compassion, which is what they use. It's the word of the day that I keep using. I think all of this should be based on compassion. And those vendors that already have that already have the regulation, that are already out there, I like to help market for them for free, with helping, of course, we do sample campaigns and stuff like that. Well, they'll send out some stuff for us to sample, and we will write reviews and stuff like that, where we try and, I think we lost Lawrence.
Yeah, I think he just completely gone. Yeah. Okay, he'll pop back in.
Okay. Well, yeah, I try and help those vendors as much as I can, because I want that to be where things are headed. I want people to want to regulate themselves. I want the vendors to want to regulate themselves. You know, I don't want these,
Absolutely.
as much as these, I don't have anything against bulk farming and bulk vendors and stuff like that, so long as they keep up to the same standards as small batch and the stuff that I deal with the most. I just want to help them as much as possible. So I got very into the business side of that, and I kind of just figured that out as I went. I didn't really like study business or anything like that. The only thing that I really kind of studied in between on accident is when I worked with my mom, who is she's a medical professional who's actually a Kratom advocate now. Is I learned a crap ton of medical stuff from her, which is good, and it helps me kind of understand both sides of things when somebody is talking or reading research studies. It helps me understand because I know the lingo and stuff like that. So there's all varieties of things that are happening in the botanical community or need to happen in the botanical community. I just like to learn about it. So
that is an awesome background to have. That your mom's you said she was a nurse and also a witch.
She's no, she's actually an occupational therapist and lymphedema specialist.
Okay.
And wound care specialist. She's actually gone into other countries and opened free clinics and stuff like that to try and help people. And then she traveled around in different countries and the United States to teach doctors lymphedema and how to work with that. So yeah,
she's a real one.
Yeah, she's got more motivation than I have in my little toe, and you know, I'm tired and busy all the time, so I don't know how she does it, but yeah, she all does it while being a witch as well. So
I returned. Sorry, I just out.
Oh, hello.
Yes, I'm back. Thank you, Zach, for holding down while my thing crashed. Another question.
Yeah.
Other than shitty internet connections for all of us, what is your biggest non-financial obstacle right now?
Unfortunately, it's my health. You know, that's what one huge part that I got into medicinal herbs and kratom and stuff like that is because I have so many health problems. I talked earlier about my neurological thing. I was born with essential tremor, which makes my eyes and my hands and my voice shake. It kind of feels like shocks a little bit, you know, constantly. Kratom actually slows it down and makes me not shake as much. So, but I also have a spinal disease that makes my spine kind of fuse to itself. So as I get older, the more I have to sometimes use a wheelchair when I go to like amusement parks and stuff like that. And it's getting worse. Plus, actually, just about a year ago, a few days off from a year ago, I was actually assaulted in a road rage incident. I was picked up by my throat and thrown onto a highway, and it really messed up my back. And I just cannot, with my health, I just can't get a hold of it, you know? So I think that's one of my biggest things. I think the reason I can't really get a hold of it is the healthcare system. And we don't want to get into that because I could go off on hours about there.
It's a big one.
The healthcare system is just not, it's not working for us, especially not for us that, you know, are disabled or, you know, in poverty or anything like that, you know. So
well, if anybody ever fucks with you, just hex them, and then we'll take care of the physical part, okay?
Yeah, well, if I believed in hexing people, which I'm not saying don't watch out for karma, because we can help karma bite you in the ass, but
Hexes are for the impatient.
Yeah, I would definitely. I don't know if I were a witch, I would send out a few if somebody did that to me. I'm so sorry that happened to you Wednesday.
Oh, that's okay. I actually ran him out of town by telling everybody about it. It's a small town. Everybody
Oh,
knows everybody.
Mhm.
And they kind of took a liking to us pretty fast, so they ran him out of the state, actually. The cops didn't help at all, of course, because they're cops in Louisiana, and that's another thing that I didn't talk about is the cops and the recovery groups here are against Kratom because they want to keep their methadone clinics open,
Mhm.
which and Suboxone, and that, yeah, that's a whole freaking podcast that we could go on, but yeah, that's pretty much it. My health
Okay.
and healthcare system, and
And
that's
on a positive note, and in a positive note, what are you looking forward to right now as a community leader? What's on your mind that makes you kind of smile?
I am actually looking forward to expanding 101 Creative and Botanical. We're looking into some different platforms that could be bigger than Discord, that are like a Discord and a Reddit kind of put together, and kind of a website all put together that we want to have for the entire botanical community to try and get us all back together again instead of so split apart. And then we want to also invite political people in so they're actually involved instead of on the outside just being politicians, not having to do with the actual consumers at all. So I think I'm really excited for the future because things are getting bigger. I have lots of opportunities ahead, and I'm just hoping that they will all work out. And if they don't, then something new always comes about.
Well, Wednesday, it was wonderful to talk with you. Zach, thanks for being here, even though we had some technical issues.
Sorry about that.
No problem at all. We'll do it again. And if you could just hang around for a minute after we end the recording. This has been the Kratom Advocacy Podcast. Zach, Lawrence, Wednesday, all signing out. Bye.